Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Under the Hood, featuring yours truly, Weston. Today is the first time that we are going to be trying out this whole live stream with guests. Last week, my episode featured bass baritone Ashraf Suwailam, but we had to pre-record his episode via Zoom while he was over in Cairo helping out his family. But today we have the amazing soprano Kathryn Lewek and her husband Zach Borichevsky. And let's see if we can get all of this up and running. How do I even try to I'm going to share my post, and then I hope that they will be able to join me. If they're not able to join me, this would be a complete disaster. Okay, let's see. I'm typing to Kathryn and Zach saying, join me. Oh, it looks like they're here. Are you guys here?
Here we are.
So here.
Oh my gosh. I have to say, I was so nervous. I'm so glad that you guys have drinks too. I was nervous about how to fire this thing up and to get all my IT guy is on break.
I literally the other day, yesterday, that even though like I'm technically a millennial, I'm like as old as you possibly can be, and also still be a millennial, and I do not at all identify like all the technology stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's just a technology thing.
Well, technology.
You're really good at technology. I'm not.
I don't understand.
I'm really bad at it.
I rely on my friends, both of the younger and the older generations, to try to, I don't know, whoever knows how to do stuff, they try to help me to do stuff. So anyway, but we're here. I'm so glad that y'all are here. And in your new house.
I know.
Here it is.
And you can't really see it in the shot, and I'm afraid like we have this all like built up on Nico Castell books.
Very different.
Hey, if there's I can't even remember how to do this because it's all backwards. If there's anything for the Nico Castell books, right, it's to prop things up on once you've memorized all the unbelievable knowledge that resides within.
So, but what you can't see is that we just got our grand piano delivered today, which is, I am the 4th generation of musical women in my family to own it.
Oh my God.
Yes, my great-grandmother purchased it in 1918 in New Jersey. And it then went to my grandmother, who was an opera singer. She was a contralto. And then it went to my mom, who was a piano teacher. And now it's here.
Wow. That is kind of amazing. That's unbelievable. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad it safely arrived and that you got it all in the new house and everything.
Videos of them bringing it. It was a little nail bitey.
I'm sure.
I poured you some ice.
Oh, great.
Ooh, ice. It's delicious. You should try some. You're so kind. You're like, I poured you some ice. I don't know why you're not chewing on it.
But I will tell you, one time I was craving ice so much when I was like, I don't know, 20 hours into labor. And they're like, okay, so all you can have is ice chips. And I was like, okay, bring it on. And they're like, you can have like 1 per hour.
Wow. So filling and
so thirsty. That's one thing. So I had a C-section when I had Mackenzie.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I remember the most about the very end of labor and like during the C-section. There it is.
Uh-oh. What's happening?
I was so thirsty.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah. I would definitely imagine that the thirst would be an issue. And with 1 ice chip
Zoom in.
You got this thing on wheels. This is super fancy. This is next level fancy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this is like a tiny little.
That was a dolly shot for those of you cinephiles in the audience.
Right.
That's so good. All right, let's get into this. So, Kathryn, ladies first. You received your bachelor's and your master's education at Eastman School of Music in Rochester. Rochester. And they even bestowed upon you some sort of performance certificate of excellence.
Yes.
Yes, well, why not? Now, what are the different young artist training programs that you went through? I know you did Music Academy of the West, but were there others?
That's it.
That's it. That's all. That's all that was necessary.
I did a pay to sing program. Well, I did Oberlin and Italy during school, which was like a summer program. But then I also did a pay to sing called Si Parla Si Canta, which is run by Benton Hess and Hugh Murphy. Jennifer Johnson Cano and Chris Cano coach there in the summer. So does Federico Sacchi, and I feel like there are other people. Cassinia Latligna. I feel like maybe she's still doing that. Anyway, great program. You go, and it used to be in Urbania, which is in the Marche region, and they've moved it now. But it's still, the program is still kind of the same general makeup, which is that you get up at the crack of dawn and you study Italian for many hours in the morning. And then the musical side of it is basically just, it's like a scenes program. And then you travel around to little tiny Italian opera theaters in Italy and sing these scenes for Italian audiences. And it's glorious.
That's amazing. And then I know that you were a winner in the Operalia competition, but were there other competitions that you did along the way?
Yeah. I mean, I did the circuit, I did kind of all of them. I got an encouragement award from Greta Listener, and I won the Opera Foundation competition, which is
in Berlin. That got you over to Germany.
That I had over in Germany. But I don't know, man. It was like I got my big break basically just by starting to work with the right teacher and learning how to sing. And then suddenly it was like it didn't really matter that I had gotten a bajillion rejections from basically everyone. And I went over to Germany. I mean, that's kind of how my career got started.
Okay. Now, pausa. Zach, you did your undergraduate at George Washington University?
That's correct.
And where is that? Is that in the D.C. area?
It's 6 blocks from the White House.
Okay. And what were you studying at the time? Was that music or was that something different?
Well, I studied 2 things at once, Weston. I studied political science and music.
You're so smart.
Wow, that's wicked smart of you. I don't even know what is the DC? It's Boston. What is the?
Well, I mean, the accent is close to Baltimore for like people from Washington, I think.
Washington. I love the yeah.
I don't think Washington is what I think that's what they say. Central Pennsylvania.
I think that's what you just said.
It is what I said, but it's because it's an accent. But yeah, the Foggy Bottom experience is very different from living in DC. Like DC is a odd city, but the Northwest and the area right around the White House is like its own little enclave, and the massive.
I hear there's no traffic, and the streets are very laid out like a grid, very clear, easy to get around.
I feel like one of the first conversations that I had with you was about DC, because I had recently worked there, and I was like, oh my gosh, isn't DC awesome? It's so amazing. It's so fun to just feel like you're in the center of the United States of America and everything's happening there. And you were like, yeah, it's great, but I didn't really experience it at all when I was an undergrad because I just kind of lived within the confines of
like there's a big bar
university
scene, but I just went to a lot of dorm parties at people's apartments that had in the I don't experience it enough, but
right. But then for graduate school, you decided to pursue a master's degree at the Yale School of Music.
Yale.
It's very impressive. No matter how you pronounce it, it's very impressive.
Hughes received pronunciation because Doris Yarrick Cross,
Yes.
matriarch of the program. This was our parody voice for the way that she spoke.
Oh, I love Doris and Richard so much, though. They're so great.
Fantastic people. They are just very, yes, that is the way it should be.
Did you? Okay, so
Richard,
the bit of fanciness that I can claim is that I attended the Juilliard School, and I think it was like 212-799-5000. If that's, I think that's the phone number for the Juilliard School.
Tuition or the phone number?
What? Oh, that was. Oh, darling, I got paid to attend as I was in the opera center.
Hard work.
Scholarship.
I was on scholarship. No, but when you would call that phone number, there was a recording of a wonderful woman, I'm sure, but her voice was like, "Thank you for calling the Juilliard School." And it was like the most like intimidating, like, I don't know if I want to leave a message or what I want to do. I'm scared. And they literally changed it to like, I mean, I don't know what it is. I'm probably like, "Hey, thanks for calling Juilliard. How are you doing?" You know?
Hey. We're so happy that you called Juilliard.
They changed to really high-pitched vocal fry. That's what's in these days.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse.
Always trying to emulate that.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
I just want to say.
you just really want to say?
Yeah. So I had a.
We could get a whole technical talk about just that.
I know, right? We had a wedding planner who had really high pitched vocal fry, and it's really hard to replicate. But we have a lot of fun trying to recreate conversations that we had.
Oh, I'm sure.
Magenta, like I went to color theory class, and just so you know, magenta is the same thing as burgundy.
I was like, no.
You're like, let's talk more about that. I would love to hear your ideas further about the magenta burgundy discrepancy and how that could help color my wedding.
That I don't agree with the dog being the ring bearer.
So then, after Yale, you attended AVA for a spell, for a brief spell.
A brief 3 years.
But you were like, I don't want to stay for the 4th year and get any kind of certificate or anything. You're like, I'm out of here.
No. It was time to start working for more money. They give you a little bit of money when you're at AVA, not Juilliard money, I'm sure.
Oh, please. I don't think it's changed in the last like 100 years, and I think it was $625 a month.
More. It's more than
in Manhattan, that could cover a whole meal.
We're in Manhattan. I mean, Center City is getting more and more expensive as we go along. But it was still, I had a 1-bedroom apartment that was $800 rent. But that was.
Wasn't Yale free
super lucky
for you, or did you? When did? I feel like at some point Yale became free.
Yes.
Like
so Yale,
when
I was applying for. I think the opera program was basically free for everybody because they had enough scholarships for. Yeah. But the summer before I applied, and after I got in, the summer right before I started, they received an anonymous $100 million gift, which they used to make it free tuition for all students, all instrumentalists, everybody.
That's amazing. I remember when that happened. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's cool.
And it was just some guy you never heard of, because there's evidently enough people that can just scoff off $100 million that you've never heard of.
That's unbelievable. And of course, AVA is paid for. You don't have to pay tuition to go to AVA.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
Less than you got from Juilliard.
Well, again, I don't really know anything. Kathryn,
you're much fancier than us.
No. I doubt. I disagree strongly. In fact, Kathryn, you pretty much set the precedent these days for Queen of the Night, and I don't know if that makes you roll your eyes and be like, oh. Now I'm sure it bought the house, the farm, the whole kit and caboodle, which is amazing. But I know, and we can talk about it or not talk about it if you don't want to, but I know that sometimes singers can get pigeonholed into those types of roles. But anyway, you've sung Queen of the Night like everywhere on the planet, which is unbelievably impressive. But also, Constanza and Abduction, and I'm really excited to see this new. Well, I don't know. It's new to me. The Eurydice and the Orfeo.
Oh yeah, just
It it just came out on DVD. And where was that?
it was at the Salzburg Festival last year.
Salzburg. Okay, and Barry Kosky directed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. You've worked with him on a few different things, yeah.
No, I mean, actually, this was the first time that we formally worked together. Although I did his Magic Flute production in Madrid.
He wasn't there.
Okay, but he wasn't there though. Oh, okay, okay.
But before working with him, my other anecdotal story of him was that I did this like insanely ridiculous production of Abduction at Deutsche Oper Berlin in 2016, and he came to the premiere, and this was a widely controversial production. It was really
I've heard about it.
He came to it, and even Barry Kosky was like, whoa, what just happened?
It just didn't really make any sense.
No, it didn't make any sense at all.
I mean, controversial.
Terrible.
The definition of like Regie Theater, right? The whole director-driven theater where it's like.
Yeah, well, he had never, this director had never directed an opera before. He'd never
directed anything he hadn't written.
Yes, and he had never directed anything without like his like private troupe of actors. And he spoke only Portuguese and Spanish, and so we had a translator there translating a tiny bit of English, translating into German and also English for all of us who were in the room. And in his opening remarks at the first rehearsal, he was like, he like holds up the CD liner notes to Abduction, and he goes, "Don't worry, I've seen the opera."
Good. So we're all on the same page then.
And this comfort that you have seen this opera that you are about to direct.
Whew.
Yeah. Anyway, so
that's like the nightmare story.
So Barry Kosky showed up at the premiere, and he saw me at the after party, and he was like, "This was insane. I have no idea what I just saw, but all I know is that I need to work with you because you'll do anything on stage."
That's amazing. That is truly amazing. Speaking of anything on stage, I saw that other Salzburg production of Ariodante that you did with Cecilia Bartoli.
It's my favorite production experience ever of my entire life.
Anyone who's watching this who hasn't seen that production needs to immediately figure out a way to watch it because it's unbelievable. Ariodante, Salzburg. Who was conducting?
Gianluca Capuano.
And directing?
Really great.
Christoph Loy.
It's I think it might be the coolest, most awesome thing I've seen. And for a Handel opera to like really bring someone in and be like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, it's unreal.
This is the summer that we were getting married. It was the summer of 2017, and Zach was working at the Glyndebourne Festival, and I was doing the. They have like two festivals there. The first one, which is the Witsun Festival, and Cecilia actually runs that festival now. She's the intendant of that festival, and she decided she wanted to premiere that opera at the Witsun Festival, and then the Salzburg Festival also did like 6 performances of it as well later in the summer. But anyway, Zach was singing Alfredo at Glyndebourne, and so he wasn't with me when I premiered it, and I kept telling him during this like 6-week rehearsal process, "Oh my God, hon, this is like the best thing that I have ever been a part of."
Never call me hon.
I never call you hon.
Just for the record,
like Bay.
For my perspective on Handel, the only Handel operas that I had ever seen were like young artist program Handels and like graduate school.
Yeah.
And
He didn't believe me.
And
He's
I was
yeah,
like,
but you love Handel.
You're like,
I mean,
really good.
Handel, like, I don't understand it. I think the thing with Handel is he needs genius, brilliant performers in all of the parts. Otherwise, it's terrible and boring. Unlike Puccini and Verdi, even Mozart to some degree, like the music is good enough that even if the performer is not a genius, like it can still get why it's brilliant. And I think Handel, like, because he was just like writing a few notes and relying on the singers to basically compose a lot of it. You have to be good. You have to be brilliant.
I
And
think
so
that's an interesting way of putting
Ariadante
it.
is filled with brilliant people.
But I think that when I talk about Handel and why I love to sing it so much, because I love to sing a wide variety of repertoire, but I love singing Handel because it gives me room as an artist for virtuosity, unlike any other composer gives. It's an opportunity to put more of myself and more of my own ideas, and it's so much more a collaboration because it's like chamber music. So working with the conductor. Oh,
Fail.
Uh-oh.
Was a
We got
bad
man down.
anyway. This is.
we'll fix it, man.
I'm working on it.
So yeah. Anyway, Handel is the bomb. I love Handel. And the production was amazing. And of course, I started out as a mezzo soprano when I was a tot, and
We're gonna talk about that. And I want to talk about that. I just gotta. This is so challenging because we got so much stuff to get through. I just want to try to mention a few things to people who, if they've been, I don't know, in a cave and don't realize how amazing you both are. I want to make sure that they understand this is like the dream team. This is what people aspire to. This is the whole, if you're dating somebody in college, it's also a singer. It's like, this is the dream, right? That you're both able to like get out of the web of craziness and pop out on the other side and both be successful performers who respect and support one another and who are able to make it all work. So yes, you're amazing, Kat, right? But Zach, you also have recently sung Narabot and Salome at the Spoleto USA Festival, which I love. Charleston, South Carolina. It's an amazing festival.
it's such a cool city too.
It's such a cool city. That historic downtown is one of the coolest things ever. And of course, where we all met, the Alfredo that you sang in Seattle, summer of, or no, wait, what was that? That was like December, January of 17, 18, or whatever it was. 16, 17.
16, 17, it was pre-baby.
Pre-baby.
It was pre-marriage.
Yeah, pre-marriage.
It was pre-marriage.
I just remember we were there for a very long time. And that production was interesting.
I thought it was cool, that big red curtain.
I was deputized to defend it a lot. I argued a lot with the assistant director during the staging process, but then I had to defend it when at a Q&A session with the audience afterwards.
Before?
Which I do. I mean, I do like a lot about it. I think it.
Yeah.
Some failure.
I didn't. The one part that I was like, oh, was when the Disprezzo Degno, when I come in and I'm like, Dove mio figlio, and you're hiding under a curtain, and I'm like, where is my son? It was like hide and go seek /
Too literal. The only thing I didn't like the robot marching part during the gambling scene. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think you can check it out. Oh my gosh, the name of the director totally slipped my mind just now. What is it?
It was only his assistant.
Right. But upcoming, hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed for any kind of upcoming stuff. Cassio and Otello over at WNO.
You just did that.
Oh, you just did that. Oh, you did that.
Both there together.
Yeah,
I did Cassio.
So lucky.
She did Queen there. We were there at the same time, and it overlapped by most of the time. It was like a week on either side, and so we were all there.
That's amazing.
Good times.
It was great. And she had her first birthday there, and it just so happens that we have lots of family. My brother, who's been a Coast Guard officer for many years, actually lives in D.C. now. I mean, he's lived so many different places. He's lived in Seattle. He's lived in Atlantic City. He lived in Hawaii for 4 years, and he happens to be in D.C. right now. So it was amazing because he could be there for my daughter's first birthday, And your parents came down from Philadelphia area, and we have so many family members in the DC area, like and Annapolis and all that area. So we had this big party for her. It was really fun.
That's so amazing.
Parties.
Parties.
That's
great.
amazing. That's great. Okay, so and I mean, but you okay? So Rodolfo, I mean, your go-to stuff, the bel canto, beautiful tenor stuff. You're like what, 7'4"?
And I'm like 4'3".
So it works. That's why it works. That's why it works. But yeah, Rodolfo, and you got Duke and Rigo. Oh man, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Mike Mays, but I might need to kill him so that I can sing that Rigoletto in Nashville. I just.
Oh, don't get too excited because I mean that was canceled.
Well, yeah, they already canceled that.
Together, we were supposed to do that. We were supposed to have done that in April.
This was all supposed to be this season.
We were supposed to be doing it in Colorado right now, Rigoletto together.
And Nashville was going to be the perfect, wonderful, like small regional, wonderful company. I worked at the company before I sang Queen there, like in 2013, and we thought this is such a wonderful place to try out these roles. And then at first we thought it was going to be canceled because the tornado went through, and then a few weeks later it was canceled because of the pandemic. So, but now it's rescheduled for next spring, and
right.
I'll be singing Queen at the Staatsoper in Berlin. So,
well, maybe I can sing Gilda, and me and Zach can still have an opportunity to perform.
That shouldn't make news. You got to remember, we're not talking to Weston. We're talking to the world.
That's true.
Anyway. The whole point of this show is to talk about the struggles and challenges and pitfalls, but also the light bulb and aha moments that we've had going through the education and going into young artist programs. And you mentioned before learning how to sing, getting with the right teacher. I assume you mean Diana Soriero.
Sure do.
Yeah. So I would love to hear from both of you sort of the different, like, Katie, you mentioned that you started out as a mezzo. I would love to hear how that transition worked for you. How long did you stay as a mezzo? What made you think like, wait a minute, I'm not a mezzo. I can sing Queen. And Zach, did you always start as a tenor? Did you pop through puberty and you're like, hi? Or were you
really long time.
All right. Again, ladies first. Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Oh my gosh, that's a can of worms. I will try to be brief.
You don't have to. We got plenty of time.
Well, so my grandmother was a contralto. So everybody always thought that I was following in my grandmother's footsteps with the low voice glory. And I was pretty cool with that. Although my boobs are way too big to be singing pants rolls.
Okay.
Contraltos are pants parts.
No, I was a mezzo. Like I was never a contralto.
Old women.
I was never a contralto.
Yeah, you weren't. But you were talking about
No.
So you started out singing things like Carabino?
So yeah, actually, the first thing that I ever sang was Carabino's aria. The first opera I ever sang was and it was great fun. I really was into music theater when I was in high school, and then I started working with a new teacher, Richard Donahue. He's in Middletown, Connecticut, and I was studying piano, and I was a pianist first, and I started singing mezzo roles. He actually had me kind of singing everything. He really didn't want to say what I was, but it seemed that my voice was on the lower side, and I had these high, weird cat sounds. That's what I called them, or I called my party trick high notes later on. But I really could only sing to a B flat or a B. And I had this full middle voice, and everybody told me, including the teacher that my mom grew up working with, who also my grandmother in her later years worked with occasionally. And I went to see her. Her name was Margaret Leary, and she was in New Jersey. And my mom came to see her when I was in high school, and she said, "Oh yeah, you have this beautiful. You're gonna have this beautiful mezzo voice, just like your grandmother had this beautiful low voice." And so that's what I grew up thinking. And so I went to Eastman and I walked in on the first day, my first lesson with Robert McIver. And I specifically wanted to work with him because everybody asked me, "Oh, you went to Eastman, so you must have worked with Rita Shane." And I'm like, "No, I didn't. I worked with Robert McIver." And I specifically wanted to work with him because he was known for his work with lower voices. And he was like, "Okay, so I think that you're a soprano, but we can get to that. Like we'll be very gentle about it." And I was like, let's get one thing. I don't sing high and I don't sing fast." That's literally still.
You knew so much about your voice.
It's like, to this day, it's his favorite anecdotal story to tell people when he talks about me. He's like, "So that Kathryn Lewek, yeah. First thing she said to me was that she doesn't sing high, she doesn't sing fast." But long story short, I guess I just really needed to kind of figure out the healthiest way for me to sing and figure out how not to try to sound like something that I thought that I was. And it really was.
So did you do that? I mean, were you trying to sound like something that you thought people expected of you?
No, well, subconsciously maybe. I think I was definitely, like, I loved the compliments that people gave me when I was young about the beautiful dark timbre of my voice. And so I was like, ooh, that's fun. I'll do more of that and I'll make that the thing that is what I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the process of doing that, I over darkened, I over covered, I brought too much weight into the middle voice, and that's why my voice really cut out. It just like stopped phonating at a B flat or a B. And over the years, working with different people, getting different opinions, and truly actually being attracted to soprano roles, so having that motivation of wanting to sing Lucia more than anything else. I really wanted to sing Lucia. Slowly but surely, I mean, it was such a long, it was not at all like, oh, I'm a mezzo today and tomorrow I figured out how to sing Queen of the Night. It absolutely wasn't like that. It was kind of a transition into soprano land. The first major role that I ever sang was Cendrillon, the Massenet, and I adored that. And then the next, that was my senior year.
Which is very Sfishen-y, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the next year I sang Giulietta in the Cappella Montecchi. And so that was definitely more of a soprano role in my first year of graduate work. But then I was cast as Mignon the first year out of grad school, and I went to Santa Barbara and did Marilyn Horne's program out there, Music Academy of the West, and I sang Mignon. So, I mean, that's also kind of a suspicion, but I was like, I'm getting such mixed messages. And, but it was actually that summer, as I was singing that role, that she told me she thought that I was the lyric coloratura. And I said, "You've got to be nuts. That's the last thing that I am." And she said that one of her coach's spies had been walking around the grounds and heard me warming up and heard that I had these really high notes. And I was like, "Oh, but nobody wants to hear those." And she goes, "Yes, people want to hear those notes." But interestingly, talking about pigeonholing, she said, "Don't sing Queen of the Night. You're only ever going to get cast as Queen of the Night." And I'm grateful for that advice because I know that she wanted more for me than just to sing Queen of the Night. But I do have to say that I disagree with that advice now, because this is a different business than that we're dealing with than when
she came through. Yeah.
This is a business, especially in the U.S., where you have to crack through somehow. You have to get a toehold somehow. And I have been really fortunate, not just in the United States, all over the world, to have opportunities singing Queen of the Night, myself to so many different companies all over the world. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity of singing Queen of the Night. And yeah, sometimes I get a little tired of it, but I'm also really fortunate to be working with an agent who is really sensitive to the fact that I don't want to only be singing Queen of the Night. And sure. She makes it her mission to make sure that in between the Queen of the Nights that I'm singing, that pay for the farm. That I have things that really interest me, like Ariodante and like Eurydice and Gilda, Lucia, Violetta, those kind of
Right,
things.
right. So you mentioned a little bit about, you know, putting too much darkness, putting a little bit too much weight in the middle, and that was what was perhaps keeping the B flat, B natural as sort of the top of the range. When you really transitioned into having a much more free and easy top and access to that, you know, F's above high C, do you feel like you, I mean, what were some of the significant technical changes that you were became aware of and started to implement that allowed you to have that freedom?
I think definitely the idea of I hate the word placement
So do I.
about vocal technique, but sometimes there's really I think that placement is a word that voice teachers use when they don't really have another word to. Actually, it's kind of like a catch-all term for talking about sense and color.
I also feel like if you start talking, if a teacher starts talking about, you know, I want you to place the tone, or you know, think about the placement, da, 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 the risk that one always takes in doing that is that it can very easily get stuck in that place, and that if you're placing it somewhere, then you're also not creating spontaneously and in the moment. So therefore, it's like you're always trying to aim for a specific spot as opposed to communicating in the moment, which is, in my opinion, the thing that attracts an audience to a performer, so that they see that they're saying what they mean and meaning what they say as they sing it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important, and it's something that I've learned in my professional career is the power of the very many colors that the voice can make. And yeah, sometimes I place the voice. It was the first half of Queen of the Night, second aria, De Hularacha. I place the heck out of my voice right at the front, laser beam, so that I don't have to do a whole lot of effort. This is what I say to all my students who want to work on Queen of the Night with me. Let the orchestra do the work. You do not have to be dramatic. You do not have to be intense. The music, Mozart has taken care of all of that for you. So just put it at the bridge of your nose, have really spicy, crispy diction with the German, and sing mezzo piano, basically that entire first page and a half, and just inject it with little sforzando accents here and there.
Sure. Yeah.
That's literally my secret.
Well, now we have a recipe for success with Queen of the Night.
I said this is public, but it's actually only for your friends. Did you intend to have this Facebook Live only for your friends? I think it's for the.
What? No. I meant to have this. How do I make? See, I told you I don't know anything about what I'm doing. This is just for my friends.
I believe that's how it looks when I look at it on Facebook. It's got the little, you know, little when you're broadcasting something to everybody, it has a little world there instead of just the we're getting infinity here. Instead of just the two silhouettes of people. It's too close, you can't really tell, but yeah, it's I think that's what's happening, because just so you know.
Well, I feel like a complete moron because that is not at all what I meant to do.
Okay, you have friends. Don't you have a lot of
Should
friends?
we-
This is all for your friends.
Should we be starting over and we should do it for the world, or?
Did you share it on your thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just
I
that
don't know.
aren't friends with both of us, I think, can't watch it. Sorry. I mean, that's what I think. I mean, please.
Is there a way that I can change? Is there a way I can change it? A setting I can change that allows me to?
This means none of us are millennials. I think that's what this means.
I don't know if
I think
you
it's me.
well, it's a process. I've never done it, so I could not tell you.
Oh my god, I feel like such an idiot. I'm gonna. Well, I'll say this. Once we finish this,
Then you can make.
I'll make it public, and then I'll also put it up on my YouTube channel for this show, and then you can share the YouTube thing or whatever. I apologize for for my this. Like I said, this is the first time I've actually done the live stream where I have guests, and so
It's
I
so
don't know. It's very exciting.
Freak.
So exciting that I messed it all up.
I thought you did one already. Sorry.
No, I did one with Ashraf where it was pre-recorded on Zoom, and then I posted that. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, as we were saying, now Zach, when you started off with your music political science major in undergrad, or even, I mean, I assume, were you in choir in high school?
Absolutely. So I'll just go. I have a few things I want to say.
Please. The floor is yours.
You're talking about overdarkening the middle. I'm like, that is my jam. I've done that too much for my whole life. Not due to any misleading by my very first voice teacher, who tried to lead me correctly and continues to this day. So my mom wanted me to have some kind of extracurricular lessons when I was like 15, 14. I had just in middle school. She was like, take some voice lessons. She found in the classified ads in the newspaper. That's how old we are.
Okay.
A voice teacher who lived literally 5 minutes down the road from where I lived in suburban Philadelphia. And he was a professor at the University of the Arts, which is a performing arts high school and undergrad college in Center City, Philadelphia. But he is a very good voice teacher.
I'm so lucky that he lives so close to you.
It's just very coincidental. And my mom just happened upon him.
Yeah.
But he gave me a grounding in technique. He knew that I was a tenor. I think if I had gone to any sort of random, not as knowledgeable voice teacher, they would have assumed that I was a baritone because of the timbre of my voice. And I think I artificially lower my speaking voice because my father is a baritone / bass. And most of my friends growing up were.
He's a
so
church bass.
I think that he's not a professional. I think that my voice, if I spoke more like a tenor, if I spoke where my natural speaking range is, it would probably be more like up here. But I'm not going to do that because that's weird. Because I've spent my whole life.
I saw the level of traction in Katie's eyes when you were demonstrating that, and I just would not. I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah.
I don't think that happened.
So.
I don't know. Do you think maybe I should
Good.
be speaking like this?
But anyway, I also overdarken the middle of my voice, so yeah. He set me on a great path, I think. I went to undergrad in DC. I had a good teacher there, Robert Baker, who led me through my undergrad years of just doing very tiny music department at TW. So
Well, and the
just
best
did
thing
scenes
that-
programs with piano and
the
stuff
best
like
thing
that.
that
We
I-
never did anything with orchestra.
A college voice teacher can do is protect, because I mean, let's face it, there's almost nothing that really can be done on a lasting level as far as technical stuff goes for a college student, because the equipment is just not there yet.
You're saying for college age?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I certainly think that at that level, and I might be a little bit biased because I'm about to enter into a full-time teaching position at UMKC, where I just got the load for my fall, most of which are undergraduate. And I will say that I am certainly going to make certain that they understand how to breathe, and I'm going to make sure that they understand, what the goal is. And I think that all too often, singers who have aspirations of becoming opera singers, right, may have only heard like a couple of singers. And it's like, I want to make sure that they are aware of, like, this is the world that you are saying that you're interested in belonging to. So it's important that you understand as much about it as possible. And that means understanding who the singers are and what are the difference between, a high lyric coloratura and a dramatic, or a, leggero and a full lyric, or a spinto, or a whatever, and so I think that there's a lot of information that can be deemed. And, between that, let's say 18 and 21, I think as long as you're building agility and strength and a knowledge that is going to allow for healthy singing, I think those are the main things. But I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, you're not gonna pop out. I mean, probably not. What was I can't remember her name. made her Met debut at 19. You know who I'm talking about?
Recently?
No. Do you know what I'm talking about? This is a very famous soprano who made her Met debut when she was like 19. Had a competition named after her.
That's why I said Magda Olivero.
What was the first one you said?
Geraldine Ferrara.
That's not the one that I'm thinking of. I can't remember why I can't. I'm just going to blame it on the Negroni. But anyway, you know.
Yeah, we have a hornet on the wall.
You have a This is live action.
I know. Like,
all right, so Katie, while he handles the manly things of the Hornets, talk to us a little bit about how did having a baby change your approach to singing? Anything technically? I mean, what was that? Change your what?
My everything.
Yeah. Look at that guy. Uh-oh. Okay.
Business.
it's coming to get you.
Yeah, it was interesting. I sang until I was 8 months pregnant, and then I went back to work actually when she was 6 weeks old, and it was insane. And I wish that I'd had more time, but I did not because, you know, my most lucrative contract every year is my contract at the Met, singing Queen. And that's what was happening. And, you know, you can't really choose when you get pregnant.
For the record, I removed him with Cuore Ingrato.
Okay. Good. I'd love to hear you sing a little bit of that a la Hornet style.
But it was interesting singing while pregnant. It was interesting singing while pregnant because, especially as I got bigger, because she really affected my support system. I remember when I was singing at that Paralata Festival in Spain, in northern Spain.
I remember.
And it was like in this outdoor venue, and I was like angry pregnant the entire time. I was angry pregnant. It was so hot. It was like 110 degrees during the day.
Well, it was a 5-star resort, and you were having a miserable time.
I know. It was so hot that I couldn't even like sit in the pool up to my neck. And
like the perfect pool.
And it was
a little bit of shade.
It was beautiful, and I couldn't. So I laid in the hotel room on the bed like all day.
There wasn't any air conditioning. I mean, it's like
watching.
Was there air conditioning? A little bit.
Like various different versions of Pride and Prejudice.
A lot of Pride and Prejudice happening.
And then I sing Queen of the Night in like this full-length black gown, which they wanted to put on, and I was like, no.
Anyway, I think the really good thing about my early training.
You asked me about being pregnant.
I know. I wanted to finish my point just before I forget about it.
Because he was on Hornet Patrol.
You were on Hornet Patrol.
Exactly what you were saying about intention and the point of the art. I think it was really what made me end up getting into the business at all was how Neil Tracy focused on what was the most important thing. And he used a lot of analogy to tennis specifically because I was playing tennis at that time. I was on the tennis team in high school and stuff. And as a technical ability, you need to do certain things to shore up your technical ability. The point of it is not to do the technical things. It's not to use the placement. It's not to whatever. Those are the means that you. And the point of the thing is to communicate the idea of it, to do the art part. But you can't do the art part if you don't have any technique. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have a solid technique in order to really communicate the way that you want to, and it's been a joy, I would say.
And when your technique is solid enough as this one, you can be 8 months pregnant in 100-degree Spain and be fine.
All I needed to convey was rage, and that was not a technical thing. It was right there. It was really present. It was like method acting.
Stanislavski.
There you go. There you go. So you didn't. I mean, I've heard people talk about the differences. Like they feel like their voice lowered a third, or became darker, or became. Did you notice anything with timbre, or with like range, or with anything when?
It's funny. I've been asked to sing Traviata 5 times, and I've turned it down 5 times. And I really, because there were 2 specific roles that I wanted to sing before I sang Violetta, which was Lucia first, and then Gilda. I felt like I need to graduate to singing Violetta. And after I had a baby, I thought, okay, the next one that's offered to me, I'll take it. Now I'm ready. Both because, like, emotionally, and like I felt like even though Violetta is not a mother, as far as we know, there's just an emotional maturity, and a vocal maturity for someone that comes from my repertoire. Because even though I'm not a lyric coloratura, I thought for a hot second, the summer at Santa Barbara, like I said, Marilyn Horne thought that I was a lyric coloratura, and so she wanted me to learn like Blanchen and roles like that. And it for a year I tried that out, and I have never been more miserable. And then the following summer that I started working with Diana, and she was like, "Oh no, you're no Blanchen, you're a Constanza." And I was like, "But I've had people tell me that no, I won't be cast unless it's a character that wears an apron. Because I'm tiny and I'm cute and whatever. But that's just so not me. It's not my personality. It's not my voice. And so I am this like weird, tiny little package that packs a lot of punch. And yeah, I'm definitely a dramatic coloratura. As soon as I discovered that, it really, really helped me. But despite the fact that I sing more dramatic roles, I still feel that coming from a coloratura background, I still needed that experience of singing more emotionally complex roles. And that's why I felt like I needed the experience of singing Lucia. I needed the experience of singing Gilda in order to, and everything in between, and I actually think that my experience singing Ginevra in the Ariodante really brought me to a stage emotional place where I feel like I can be vulnerable enough to share the tumultuous situation that Violetta is in. And the precursor to that really feels like, it very much feels like Gilda to me, that sort of sacrificial standpoint. And, just singing Queen and stuff is not enough. The emotional maturity side.
Yeah.
On stage is really, it's key to have those. It's key to have emotional experiences in life, and it's also really important to be able to bring that to the stage and experience the vulnerability, sharing that with the audience, and having that honesty, being comfortable having that honesty and vulnerability with the audience.
Moral of the story is, let's do Traviata somewhere, huh, Weston?
I was just going to say, if anybody's out there that's looking for a great Traviata cast, or a great Rigoletto cast, or a great Lucia cast, I think we pretty much, we fit the bill. I've sung all of those operas a lot, and I would die to be your father / brother /
enemy.
Enemy. That'd be amazing. So, Zach, same question. After having the baby, how has your voice changed?
Well, ever since I noticed. No, what I appreciated when I had a baby is I never sang like directly. Well, first of all, there's two things. First of all, I appreciated watching her technique as a baby, because that's something that my first story teacher Neil Tracy and other people have talked to me about a lot.
Yeah, everyone talks about, so just so everyone's clear, everyone talks about how, well, a baby can cry and cry and cry and cry for hours and they never go hoarse, and it's because this instinctual primal use of breath and then onset that doesn't have any kind of additional localized muscular effort involved, and so it allows them to make noises for a long time to let you
from very far away.
That's right.
So
yeah, you watch how the lower torso of the infant looks when it breathes, and then phonation begins, and it's like, huh, I should do that.
Doesn't cry very much, so I didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to do that.
I was going to say that.
But I enjoyed the few times. I mean, as enjoyable as it can be to see your baby crying. If you know that she's crying for she's not really emotionally distraught. She's
right.
The babies do.
Right.
Then you appreciate it on a technical level how that's happening. But the other thing is just singing to her specifically for a specific purpose and getting, immediate feedback. I mean, a person that's like right here with you, and you're singing a lullaby to them, like that's a more immediate situation than I had sung in before in terms of feedback. And so that, I think, gave me a different appreciation of how to sing with intention. You were talking earlier about, what the point is in art of being conveying the meaning through making sounds, and something that the Maestro Mike Katsaurus at AVA always was his favorite mantra catchphrase is constant intention relieves the throat, because they are connected in that way. If you genuinely intend all of what you're saying, there's you can take it too far, but it doesn't. You can't. It lets you sing freer. It lets you. You can't get caught up in your trying to do like Kermit or whatever strange technical things you're doing. If you're genuinely trying to convey the idea of ungrateful heart or whatever it is that you're singing about.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, enjoy the period of time where your daughter allows you to sing to her, because my daughter is 9 years old, and the moment I begin to sing, like, Daddy, quiet! I'm like, I gotta practice. She's like, stop it!
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I know your daughter.
Thank you. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Well, Katie, you mentioned, have you had an opportunity to sing Gilda and Lucia in performances?
Lucia, yes.
Okay.
Gilda, I was supposed to sing twice this spring and summer.
And then it got canceled, yeah.
But I have not had the pleasure.
That's when we fell in love, though, of course, singing Lucia together.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So would you say that Gilda and Violetta are sort of dream roles that you definitely want to...
I think I probably wouldn't have said that Gilda was a dream role of mine, because I really like characters who are a little feistier.
Yeah.
But I have discovered things about Gilda as I worked on it, because of course we were ready to go. It was we had literally done with I have a coach here and who works at SUNY, Hugh Murphy, who I've been working with for lots of years, because it's fabulous, first of all, and it's also very convenient because he's in Connecticut, not in New York. So
we were past the Nico Castell stage.
Right.
we were past the Castell. And we had set up a sing through with him because since we were doing the roles together, it was like, well, why don't we sing through this? We had done we did a final sing through, and it literally was like it was like a few days after that everything really shut down completely. And then of course a couple days after that it was canceled. So we were ready to go. So I really put the role backwards and forwards, but I don't know it yet as a stage being.
Right.
But
yeah, that's a tricky role because, I mean, wouldn't you agree that like the rest of the role, if you take Caro Nome out of the role, you've got these amazing 3 duets with Rigoletto. I'm just going to focus on that for a second, which we could sing whenever you want to. I'd love to just sing through those with you. It'd be great. And then you've got the Act 1 duet, I guess, with Duke, which is cheesy, but whatever. And then you've got this Caro Nome. So how did that feel working that into your voice? I mean, did you realize that was did it feel so different to you than, I mean, I've heard so many different sopranos talk to me about how they hate that aria because it's so different from the rest of the role and they wish it weren't there. And
it's not.
You're like, they're all idiots. It's not.
They're complete idiots.
Everyone you've ever talked to is an idiot.
They have no idea what they're talking about. No. Not at all. It can totally feel like that. And yet I found my way with it. And actually I was
By doing what? Under the hood, Katie.
Okay. Well, I was coaching one of my sopranos on this aria the other day. And she was singing it like like I did when I was in college, which is, and then it's like it sounds like a technical exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, listen, this aria, this is her sexual awakening. You go from girlish at the beginning when she's like, oh my God, his name is so awesome. I just want to keep repeating it. Gualtier, Malde. Oh, it's so nice. It sounds so good.
My notebook.
I had a friend in high school who had a crush on a guy named Zach, and she was like, isn't the name Zach so awesome? And I was like, no. And then I fell in love with a Zach, and I was like, Zach the sexiest name I've ever heard. There is a thing about like when you fall in love with somebody and their name. So that was like the first point that I was making. Okay, so she's going from this like girlish thing of wanting to scribble his name on the front of her history book that's covered with brown.
Totally.
And then it transforms over the course of the aria, and she has these orgasmic moments. All these little mini cadenzas are these orgasmic moments where she's like, she's feeling that feeling. I'm gonna get graphic here. She's getting those feelings in her sex muscles, and she's like, oh my God, what is that? Oh my, oh. I mean, this is like pure sexual discovery, sexual awakening, and she becomes a different person by the end of the aria. She's discovered this whole thing about herself, these new feelings, and that's what she's guilty about. That's why she's guilty.
That is a German production waiting to happen.
It's definitely like this.
I'm sure it's happened.
What?
I'm sure it's already happened many times.
But she, I think she feels tremendously guilty that she has these feelings because once she's kidnapped and all this stuff, she feels like, I mean, anybody who's ever been sexually assaulted, not anybody, but many people who have been sexually assaulted have felt or entertained the idea that they brought it upon themselves because of the way they were dressing, because of the way that they were talking, because of the way that they were acting, because they were pretty, because they weren't pretty, because blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And that's what she's struggling with in Act 2 when she reunites with her father.
Right.
She feels tremendous guilt, and she feels that she is not worthy anymore. Which is why she sacrifices herself for a complete stranger.
Right.
Because, I mean, this was a discussion that we had about the show in general, was that that she's not sacrificing herself for the Duke. She knows that the Duke is upstairs sleeping. Yeah. She's sacrificing herself for, quote, the next person who walks through the door.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't feel that she's worthy. And she's not suicidal. She just doesn't, she feels that she knows someone's going to die, and she thinks it might as well be me. Because I don't have enough worth to add to this earth being damaged as I am.
Wow. Well, what a great note to end on. But I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I have to, what'd you say, Zach?
Happy COVID, everyone.
Happy COVID. And then what if that was just the end right there?
I got the whole mood down.
No. You know, I loved your reading of the aria, and I think that when you put it in that kind of context, you're absolutely right. It doesn't feel so different than the rest of, because I mean, I think the stereotypical thought is that, you know, it's such sort of big singing in the duets and in the quartet and, you know, all the stuff, but like in that aria, it's just sort of naked and it's sort of exposed and there's some high stuff. But yeah, if you're able to sort of find more earthiness and physicalness to connect that to, then I think all of a sudden it stops becoming, like you said, like a vocal technique exercise, but instead you can, and as Zach said, intention is the freedom of, what'd you say that Zach, Mycosaurus?
Relieves the throat.
Right. So I'm not going to go into further mention of that, but I think that's an excellent idea for young sopranos looking at Gilda. That's a great idea. Well, you guys have been amazing. I mean, I feel like an hour has disappeared effortlessly, minus Hornet Patrol, and realizing that 4 people are seeing this. But other than that, I think this has been a wild success.
Any opportunity to talk to Weston Hurt is always a wonderful, happy, fun time.
And I only learned that your mother is a voice teacher. I don't think you ever told me that.
Did you find that in the newspaper?
No, I found that out because family friends of my parents, their daughter is a student of.
You have family friends of your parents who have children that study with my mom?
Yes. Evidently.
I don't think that's amazing, but yeah, my mom teaches piano and she teaches voice. And so when I was growing up, my first experience with singing was high school choir, and it was my sophomore year that my mom came over from being a junior high choir director to being the assistant choir director at my high school. And so she and a man by the name of Dennis Poiter, he was the head choir director there, they team taught at Klein Oak High School, where I went to high school, for 12, 13 years or something. Fell in love and then got married. And of course, that district had this ridiculous rule that you're not allowed to work with someone that you're married to. So she had to then leave and broke up an amazing team. And she went to one of the other high schools in the area in a different district and taught for another 10 or so years. And then they are both now retired from public teaching, but she continues to have a private studio for piano and voice. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it was definitely her. Like she told me, you know, when you go into 9th grade, they say, you know, what is your you have to take a fine arts credit, you know, and I thought I wanted to choose art. I had played trumpet in junior high, and I thought, well, I don't know if I want to do that anymore, but maybe art would be cool. And she was like, no, you're going to take choir, You can just take it. Yeah, you're going to be in choir. You're going to do it for 1 year. If you hate it, you hate it, but just try it out. And then, of course, I mean, as Zach knows, when you're in choir, there's the ratio of like,
Lots of girls.
lots of girls. Yeah. And so I kind of loved it. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. But yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So why did you start singing in the first place?
My mom told me I had to.
Opera interviews, or we go to any of these like dinners with patrons and stuff like that, and the other person comes home from this. The literally the thing that we say to the other person when we walk in from one of these things is,
So how did you get into opera singing?
Yeah, it's like it's the opposite of this kind of interview, and it's the opposite of what I think of as the ideal interviews, like a Terry Gross interview on NPR. She's just she comes up with good questions, and I think it's like just the worst possible question. Who's in opera? The opera. Like it's a small talk kind of question. Like if you go into somewhere and you don't know somebody, you're like, what line of work are you in? Like how'd you do that? Like that's it's not like an interview. It's not what you do in an interview session. But I use it for like patron type of interview, like small talk situations. But.
Yeah. Well, that's a necessary part of our field is in America, for those of you 4 people who are watching that might not be aware, American opera is almost entirely funded by the generosity of amazing patrons who are obsessed with opera, and that's how we are able to put on productions here. Where in Europe, the government subsidies and it's built into the system there. Yeah. But yeah, so these incredibly generous people who have chosen to give their money to these producing organizations here in America, yeah, it's kind of an honor. I mean, if you stop and zoom out and say like, oh wow, I'm able to earn my livelihood because of your donation. It's like you mentioned the $100 million donation from the individual to Yale. It's like, you had that much money to just give away? Like, it's like, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I will answer your question for how I got into opera.
for sure.
I was like, I was born with one hand, and so I thought, what other career am I going to do?
Typist?
Yeah, no, I don't think you could move pianos either. I think
hey, I can move a piano like a champ. Have you seen that new tool that moves pianos? You just like, it goes, and it kind of just like, it does it for you. You don't have to do anything.
No, I've not seen that.
These
Is that a pulley?
Like
when you...
No, it's like an electronic machine. You should go to YouTube and type in like electronic piano mover machine. It's pretty impressive. But yeah, no, I can hold my own. I'm strong. Don't underestimate what I can do.
He played the lacrosse. Please. For some reason, Russian accent is strong.
This is no problem. We could play mini sport together. All right, we should wrap this up. This is quickly going to turn into too much fun. So I want to thank you guys so much for talking with me, and I loved, and I hope everybody else did too, hearing a little bit more about sort of the inner workings of stuff. And I mean, I would have never guessed that you started out as a mezzo. I mean, somebody who so effortlessly accesses the stratosphere with such brilliance. And I use you all the time with my students as, here's an example of a voice who can sing agility and stratospheric notes and not sound like something just dropped on their toe, but instead something that is far more developed and inclusive of the rest of the registers. So and Zach, if I haven't told you yet, you're just a beautiful, beautiful man who sings with such beautiful ease. I hated that we never really got to do performances together. You were in one cast, I was in the other cast, but we did get to sing a little bit in rehearsal, so that was good.
It's together, yeah.
I think we did like somebody was sick and kept calling out. So I think we did like a dress or two together. I think, but yeah. But likewise, we should do Rig. We should do Lucia. We should do Trav. We could do more than that. We could do Otello. No, you couldn't do Otello. Me and Katie could, but we could do Butterfly. You could do Butterfly. That could happen.
Give me 10 years, maybe.
Yeah. That opens up a whole other can of worms. Anyway,
yes.
I am so lucky to call you guys friends, and it's been a pleasure with you guys.
And we're lucky. Thank you so much. We miss everybody in COVID, but especially you, Weston.
It was really fun talking to you.
Likewise. Well, we'll have many more happy hours to come, I hope. And I will immediately try to post this elsewhere so that more people can see.
Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's just our parents that can't get into it because they're old. But I think it's only for friends.
Well, if you shared it, they should be able to watch it.
One would think, but that didn't work for them.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.